This Monday morning, I'm on the phone with head football coach from MDI High School, Mark Shields. And, Coach, congratulations, another victory. MDI on a bit of a roll here, 4-1. And, you know, as we go halfway through the season, I don't think even, you know, you and I in our fondest dreams thought MDI would be at 4-1.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that, Chris. You know, the kids, they really have, you know, come together as a group this year. And, you know, we knew something special was going on right in preseason when at the end of a practice, you know, I call the kids in, you know, we bring it in at the end and I talk to them and then we break as a team. And us coaches are walking off the field and I turn around and next thing you know, the team is in the middle of the field and the captains are in the middle, and all of a sudden they start doing these team building activities. Had nothing to do with the coaching staff whatsoever. It was just the leadership of our older kids, and maybe even at that time we haven't even declared captains. I think it was just some of our, you know, upperclassmen. And they started going through some of this team building stuff, and they did this, you know, numerous times throughout the preseason after practice, and then we started to see it before, like our first preseason game against Ellsworth. They started doing some of the same stuff, and we just sort of felt like, wow, you know, we have some really good leaders on this team, and the kids are really buying into, you know, what those leaders are saying and what the coaching staff is saying, and you know, that alone right there to me is more important than anything. I mean, I tell the kids all the time, I really don't care about the scoreboard. And, I mean, we're all competitive. We want to win.
Right.
But more importantly, you know, it's helping these young men, you know, in their lives and being part of something special. And that's really what we shoot for. And I tell the kids, or the coach staff tells the kids every week, you know, we're trying to get better every week. No matter what the scoreboard says, no matter who our opponent is, we're really trying to get better every week. And that's not just on the football field, but that's also, you know, in the classroom and in their personal lives and whatever they're involved in their lives, we're trying to get better at. So I really, you know, felt like, wow, no matter what happens on the scoreboard and no matter what our record is, this is going to be a good year because that sort of stuff was going on early on. So once you know it, I mean, there's probably a high correlation between having good leadership and kids buying into things and having success on the field, and that's really what's going on this year. And it's been a blast. I mean, I'll say it right now. I told the kids the other night, this was going to be my last year as head coach. I have two daughters in school here.
All right. So just stop for a second.
Okay.
So you are officially announcing that 2015 is going to be your last year as head coach.
Yep, and it's not going to be, actually.
Oh, it's not?
It's not.
Okay.
I told the kids after the Herman game.
I should pay attention to what you're saying.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe you could talk to my wife about that. Yeah, right. Don't do that.
Well, I know you and I had talked about this in the off season that it could be, and you were leaning towards that direction.
Definitely, and in my mind, before the season started, this is year 20 for me, and I have two daughters playing volleyball here at the high school, and I don't want to miss what they're doing. I have a son playing in the Acadian Football League. I don't want to miss him. But we've been able to kind of work through that, and I've seen most of my daughter's games, which has been great. And sometimes I'll leave practice, what have you, early to do that. But this season has been so great, and once again, not on the scoreboard and not our record, but being around these kids that I told them after the Herman game, I said, there might be some rumors out there that I'm getting done this year, and I'm here to tell you because of you kids.
Wow.
And the way the season's going, I'm definitely coming back next year. So
that's if Bunky wants you, of course. I mean,
yeah, who knows? Bunky might have in his mind that I'm already replaced, and he might have my replacement.
No, I mean, obviously we're joking about that.
Yeah, but anyway, so with all that being said, it's showing up on the field, and the kids, we played a really good football game Friday night. John Bapst is an athletic group. They're super well coached by, Coach O'Connell. And the kids, they came out and once again they executed on the field, and more importantly, they played as a team again. So, we're hoping this continues, and no matter what happens to us throughout this year and how far we can get, for me, that's a winning season, and I really believe that, and I know my other coaching staff believes it, and I think the kids believe that. Of course we want to be successful, and we feel like we do have a special group, but there are a lot of good football teams out there, and I mean, we got a tough one. We got to go to Madison this Friday night, and we know that's going to be a tough one. Yeah,
I mean, so let's look back on this past Friday night. I mean, a spanking, a 51-12 and victory. And I know, though, that, I mean, you tried your hardest not to run up the score.
Yep. Same thing, the Herman game and now John Bapst. And I've been on the other end of scores like that.
Right.
And I always appreciate the fact when coaches would gear it down as quickly as they can. And, the reality is it's such a fine line because when you're the stronger team, you still have things you got to work on, So I'm trying to get, like for us, I want to continue to get better at throwing the ball. I think running the ball we're doing pretty well, and, we can definitely improve with that as well. But there's some things you still got to work on, and you can't really work on it. Like up to Herman, we get up so much early that to throw the ball, I feel, is disrespectful,
right,
to my opponent, and I would never do that. And so against John Bapst, it actually worked out such that credit to them and their coaching staff and their kids. Those guys came out in the second half, and they were still playing football and playing hard, and they probably outplayed us the first few minutes of that that third quarter. So with that, they scored, and then we fumbled, and they got a good drive, and we finally stopped them. So then I started throwing the ball a little bit to work on that because I knew that we were still in a ball game. So it's such a tough thing. And you talk to coaches that have had strong teams, and they're only playing a half of the game, and those starters still have development that needs to happen to get when you get to the playoffs. So but as far as the score, if it's above whatever 4 touchdowns, I think it's inappropriate to do that. Start throwing the ball around. So, I was glad that our guys, our ones, still had some football to play in the third. And once again, I was really proud of my younger guys because when they go in the game, it's for them, they take that seriously and they play hard as well. And we need to develop those kids as well. So it's important for them.
All right, so let's grade the team now. We started this last week. I like it, you don't, but it's my show and with you, so I get to ask the questions, even though we call it the MDI Head Coaches Show.
Yeah, we know it's not.
Exactly. All right, so offense. MDI scored 5 times in a row now on their first possession. I mean, the other teams aren't going to want to. I was surprised that John Bapst deferred and let you have the ball, given the prolific pace that you're scoring at.
Yeah, offensively, we have been clicking, and and there's still a lot of room for improvement. I mean, there's some things that we still got to get better at, and as I said before, I definitely know that we need to throw the ball more, in game situations because we're going to need to do that down the stretch. But as far as our run game right now, and we have some really strong backs, and we have a really strong line. I mean, it's not like magic. It's somebody said to me the other day, is it coaching or is it talent? And I think it's a combination. But if you have talent and decent coaching, you're probably going to be okay. And I mean, we do have some real. Of course, the running backs get all the credit in the newspapers, but the reality is those guys up front are the ones. They're the ones opening up the hole. So. We're real strong, up front, and we're real athletic up front. We have some guys that can really move. So, and we move those guys a lot. We just, we do a lot of trapping where the guys will pull, and, they're getting down the line, and they got to get upfield. And a lot of those big plays, you see kids, your linemen, they're already upfield at the second level blocking, safeties and corners, and that's busting some of those big plays. So, offensively, I would say we're, sitting at a low A because I think we're solid, and I think there's definitely room for improvement there.
All right. On Thursday, let's talk about the offensive line. Defense.
Yep, defensively, I think, we're solid. We have good team speed. I think this is one of the better tackling teams we've had.
Yeah.
They really do swarm to the ball, and they take a lot of pride in that. Talked about that last week. And, once again, there's room for improvement. We're going down to Madison this week, and this team spreads you out, and they want to throw the football. I mean, they'll run it. They got some real good athletes, and they want to throw it as well, and they have a good quarterback. He's a senior, and he moves well in the pocket. If he gets flushed from the pocket, he, keeps plays alive with his feet. And looking down the field, he has good vision, and he'll find those receivers. And those receivers work hard to get open when he gets flushed from the pocket. So, I think our pass defense still needs to get better. John Bapst hit their first touchdown on a pass. Yeah, it was a bit of a trick play. They gave it to a running back who threw it, but that doesn't really matter. I mean, there are certain keys that our defensive backs have to read, and we didn't read it well that particular play. Overall, I thought we did a decent job covering people in the flat. We still need to get better at. So defensively, I would say we're a high B, low A.
Okay.
We still have a lot of room for improvement.
Special teams. The punt team or the punt block team almost got the John Bapst a couple times.
Yep. Special teams I have been really happy with. And the thing about special teams, some of those kids, that's kind of what they do. They might be JV guys or they're varsity guys that maybe go in from time to time. But a lot of those guys, especially when I think of my kickoff team, a lot of those guys, that's all they do. And, boy, they take a lot of pride in that. And our kickoff team has been super fast getting down the field, running their lanes. They're breaking down tackling. Once again, we can get better at that, looking on tape. We did almost block a punt. It was funny because Isaiah Keene, he comes off the corner, off the edge, and he actually goes by the punter to block it. So he dives, and he actually goes past the kid, and the kid punts it after he's by, so he definitely could have gotten a block. He's just got to, kind of get himself, break down a little bit more. But it's hard to tell a kid if you go full speed to block a punt to break down. So, I think as far as that goes, our punt block looked really good, and our punt return has been solid as well. I mean, we haven't punted the ball much the last couple of weeks, so it's hard to say there. But, our PAT team has done pretty well the last couple of weeks. That was something I didn't think we did real well, definitely against Belfast. We didn't get a PAT, I don't think, all night. So,
right.
That's something we're going to need those points in big games, kind of like this weekend game against Madison. So, Drew Rich has been kicking the ball well. I think he kicked 3 the other night, point after attempts, and sometimes we'll fake it with that as well, and sometimes we'll go for 2. But special teams, I'd say right now we're also a low A range.
Yeah, I mean, things seem so. What are you gonna? Well, we got to wrap up here because I know you've got to get back to class. What do you want to say to the fans around the world? And thank goodness we're back on regular radio with this upcoming Friday night's game.
Yeah, once again, thank you for your continued support. We had a big crowd that came out for the John Bapst game, and once again, the kids really do feel that, and they get excited about that. And I know Madison's a long ride. If you can get down there, I think that's going to be a fantastic game to watch. 2 really good football teams going at it. And if not, we'll be back the following Friday against Oceanside, which will be our senior night and homecoming night. So I think it's going to be a good crowd there. So it'll be a great atmosphere to see a football game.
All right, Coach, best of luck this week, and I will talk to you on Thursday and look forward to the game down in Friday down in Madison. Certainly going to probably be one of the games of the week in I guess now northern Maine.
Yeah, I would have to imagine we probably are the game of the week.
Okay, Coach. Thanks.
Thanks, Chris.